Florida Governor Ron DeSantis swatting away VP Harris like a pesky fly after she whined about Ron not talking to her about a hurricane that she had no role in managing.
She has no role in this process. All the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign.
And when she isn't politicizing a hurricane, Kamala was looking unprepared to lead. Harris caught on a hot mic, hiding her mouth to tell someone this.
Some of these type of traditional places that could flood, we really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
What was Willie doing calling her at that time? Jessica, all right, we've all forgotten to mute our mics on a Zoom, but it's weird because I watched that hurricane briefing and she seemed distracted the whole time to me. And she just kept repeating the same misinformation talking point fed to her. She adds nothing. Why does she feel that she has to be there if she obviously doesn't want to be there? She has a complete lack of, I don't know, interest in things.
I don't feel that. I think that someone can be uncomfortable and trying really hard to do the right thing without it being an issue of being disinterested. And I appreciate that you did lead with, we all have muted mics issues every once in a while, even 4 or 5 years after we started being on calls like that all the time. But the talking point that she's quote unquote being fed, this is a very real issue. And there were people who were talking to reporters in North Carolina saying, I have family members who don't think FEMA is here because of the misinformation coming out of Donald Trump, other Republicans. So that's a legit thing to be talking about. And I take your point on this. I think that DeSantis has done a very good job in managing this. He is uber competent and confident in these moments. And I think that there were a lot of people who are maybe not necessarily enamored with Donald Trump looking at this kind of moment saying Ron DeSantis would probably be a more unifying candidate for the Republican Party.
But if he had gotten the nomination, no doubt the Democrats would brand him as Hitler. Yep. Because that's what you guys
maybe not Hitler, something close.
Yes. Judge, Jessica's right. DeSantis had pre-positioned these line workers. He's so competent. It's always impressive. It's not too smart to tangle with a governor, especially in the middle of a massive crisis.
Ron DeSantis has such great instincts. He knew to move those emergency responders from Tropicana Field when he realized that the storm was going to be so great it would take the ceiling off, and he moved them to Ocala. But I got to tell you, Kamala Harris trying to inject herself when you have a guy as uber competent as DeSantis is, she's never called him before. She's never offered any support before, and DeSantis has made that clear. But what she has done is she's actually interfered with the handling of this rescue before in North Carolina on October 5th. I believe it was 8 days after the storm. People had still not gotten water and heat. They were still finding bodies. And the senators, both United States senators, complained about there being less than 500 people sent there by FEMA. She actually flew into Charlotte, North Carolina. As a result of that, the flight zone was closed. The FAA closed that flight zone for 4 hours, and they were unable to get any rescues. No rescues could happen during that time because she needed to be so egocentric to be right in the middle of that emergency field. And let me just say one more thing. Kamala asked the head of FEMA, this person, Criswell, she says, are we concerned about misinformation or disinformation regarding evacuations? And Criswell answers, no. Yeah. Everybody says she's such a great prosecutor. Now, I want to tell you something. She's not a great prosecutor. Number one, you never ask a question that you don't know the answer to, okay? Because that worked totally against Biden's narrative and her. And number two, she didn't prep her witness. Number three, she, to her credit, she got out the truth that worked against her. But in the end, Kamala is incompetent. She's looking at her notes. course, she's talking like this. And if her campaign didn't know she was in the middle of a broadcast, they're incompetent and chaotic.
You know, Dana, I can understand saying, you know, this hurricane never happened. It's all that's misinformation.
Right.
But when you're framing criticism of the government as misinformation, it feels like another get around free speech thing. You know, as the left keeps publishing articles on the inherent dangers of the First Amendment, you have, you know, this is an attack on, you know, on facts, on truth, when in fact it's just that people can have opinions and say FEMA sucks right now.
Yeah. But also, I think that this whole episode with Kamala Harris and the hurricanes has been more like an episode of Veep than ever before. Because she keeps trying to be like, I'm relevant. Aren't I relevant? Did the president call? And everyone's like, no, we're fine. We got it. And I think what they should have done is to say, the commander-in-chief, the president, is in touch with the governors. The team at the White House has this. I'm going to get briefed on it, but I'm going to be campaigning in these states because we got to win these states, which might then get us to the B block in a moment, because I think that would have been better for her. And there's a reason that governors make for really good presidents. They've had to deal with crises and issues. And somebody can look at someone like a Ron DeSantis and go, wow, that guy can really lead. And then you look at her and she's like not leading.
Yeah. She should have been made the hurricane czar, Jesse.
That is such a great point. They could have done it, and they probably would have gotten away with it. I wouldn't have let her get away with it, but most normal people would have attacked her for anything. When storms hit, Greg, I love it.
Really?
I relish it, because then I get everything organized at the house. You know, you make sure the generator's on, you make sure the plow guy's going to come the next day, you have food, you have gas in the car, and that's what we do. You know, and then Emma will leave the car out. I'm like, babe, it's going to snow 12 inches. Get the car in the garage. What are you thinking? She doesn't get it. And so it's true.
You definitely don't talk to her like that.
It's true. It's true. And so when storms hit, like DeSantis, he thrives under these circumstances. You know, to a certain extent, Biden and Trump do too. He's got his map. You know, he's ready to call the police. He's ready to call National Guard. You know, he's waiting for the data to come in. He's warning people. There's something that people do when we protect our people, and he's very skilled at that. Kamala Harris has not shown any inclination to be able to do that. The first hurricane, she was at a party. The second hurricane, she was drinking with Stephen. And this is actually the first time she's ever even tweeted about a hurricane in 4 years. This doesn't come naturally to her. I'm not saying it's a guy thing, but she has shown no ability to take action in this circumstance. Now, you're also right about Kamala and being the VP. She's not in the chain of command. So you have a sitting president who's not running for re-election because he was so terrible. So the VP has to run for the presidency. But he's still in command of the hurricane. And then a former president's out there, and he's facing off against the sitting president, and they're squaring off. And she's like, hey, can I play?
Right.
Can I get in this? And she's just getting in the way. And that's the problem. She's getting in the way.
Should she stay in the kitchen, Jesse? Is that what you're saying?
No, Greg. She should
saying
stay.
it's a masculinity thing
I'm
at
not.
all.
No, I'm not. Because I used to be terrible at storms. I grew up.
Yeah.
But she should have stayed on the campaign
Still
trail.
terrible at sexism.
That's what she should have done.
Yeah, she should have stayed on. And you know that just came to me while we were sitting here.
You did?
Amazing. You kids.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.